Welcome back. Well, today I am joined by Dr. Adam Solomon, who is here on behalf of MemorialCare. And welcome. I heard the weekend went really well, and before we get into that, we just want to thank you so much. You have been so great, and MemorialCare has been so organized and wonderful, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been our pleasure. We're so happy to finally be able to start vaccinating our community, and Laguna Woods Village has a high concentration of people that really need this vaccine.
Exactly. Well, I know you were there all weekend, so let's talk about how it went.
Sure. As anything, when you start off new, you sometimes have a few bugs that you work out for flow, but through the weekend, the flow became much smoother, and we were able to vaccinate about 3,000 people over the course of the weekend.
That's great. Now you did, what was it, 500 on Friday?
About 500 on Friday, and almost 900 again on Saturday and Sunday, so somewhere around there.
Well, that's awesome. And you know, I know, like you said, there were a few glitches here and there, and of course the weather wasn't really cooperating either on Saturday and Sunday. You did have some rain. What were some of the key things that you'd like to point out? I guess just from a success standpoint.
From a success standpoint, we vaccinated nearly 3,000 of our most vulnerable seniors here at Laguna Woods Village, which is the greatest success that I can think about. The seniors that had their appointments and came on time were, part of the reason for why things went more smoothly, and they were very appreciative of being able to get the vaccine, which is also a great success.
Now you had lots of people from MemorialCare, but not only that, is that relatives came too.
We did. We had, so many of the people there were volunteers. Some of them were workers. But we also had some retirees, and we had husbands and wives. We had the Dr. Horowitz, husband and wife. We had Dr. Sensio and his wife, who's a nurse. We had another physician who brought her daughter to help out. My wife helped register some people. So it was a bunch of people really, really happy to do what they can to help get people vaccinated.
And one thing that you pointed off, actually off camera before we came on, is on Sunday, you really liked what you saw. You saw everybody that was in line waiting for their appointments that they had, and then you saw all of the vaccination sections kind of full. So kind of tell us how that all worked out.
That's when it works the best. So we really try to focus on people having an appointment. They show up, and the registration is much more rapid because they're already in the system. Everything is prepared. Once they get through that registration, then they're able to get to the vaccination station. I had so many people yesterday that were shocked. They said, my appointment was at 11 o'clock. I get in just before 11 o'clock. I'm getting my vaccine, and I'll be out of here by 11:15. I never thought, you could usually go into the doctor's office, you get there really early, and you sometimes have to wait.
Right.
And fortunately for MemorialCare, that's an unusual event as it is. But through this, people were thrilled because they were able to get their vaccine at the time of their appointment.
All right. Wouldn't that be nice if everything worked that smoothly?
Yeah, that's what we're striving for.
What were some of the challenges, that you've learned that, going forward, you might change things up a little?
So a few of the challenges, one was on Friday, some people hadn't looked at their emails. People are being notified about their appointment, and it's really important for them to be aware of their appointment, looking in their emails. We also had a fair number of people that showed up that didn't have appointments, and we've been trying to emphasize, if you don't have an appointment, please don't show up. Please don't ask for a vaccine. We really are trying to have the appointments scheduled. It brings things through more smoothly, and we also know that we're vaccinating the right population. The weather on Saturday was a little inclement, and we had people that were waiting in the rain. The CEO of MemorialCare Health System actually went out and purchased some umbrellas. He felt badly for those people, but they did stand there for a long time. They didn't have an appointment.
Yeah.
So those were some of the major challenges that we really experienced.
However, those people were taken care of.
The ones that were over 75 were able to get a vaccination, but it was fortunate. As I said, we follow our scheduled vaccines, and because some of the people that had an appointment weren't aware or didn't come, we ended up with some additional vaccine that we were able to give to those people that were over 75 to get vaccinated. But we didn't have that same kind of a situation on Sunday. People showed up more readily for their appointments, and so that was a little bit easier. Yeah.
So, the community is very anxious You know, they really want to get in to have their vaccinations as soon as they can. And of course, that's why you did have the folks who probably showed up that didn't have an appointment.
Yeah.
But going forward, let's just reiterate some of the things that we don't want them to do. You know, for some reason, I think the residents think it's a magical system and we just automatically, know who to call and what to do. But working through those things, what are some of the main things that the residents shouldn't do?
So again, they shouldn't show up without an appointment.
Okay.
If they, let's say I have someone, so because this is a randomly scheduled vaccination system, we have had some seniors, some people who are in their 90s come in with their spouse who didn't get an appointment. As long as they bring their identification, a legal identification that shows their age, then we're able to recognize that's their age, that they are over 75, and we've been trying to vaccinate in that case.
Okay.
But if people don't have an appointment, they shouldn't be showing up. If people have recently had COVID or been exposed, we'd like them not to come out and risk exposing other people.
Right.
If they have had a vaccine just recently or are scheduled for another vaccine of a different type, they just need to be aware that the recommendation is not to get the COVID vaccine within 14 days of the time of their other vaccinations.
Okay. Now, in terms of having some no-shows, I mean, possibly those people have gotten the vaccination from the super pods that are available, but do you want them to contact the main source of where the information came from if they're not going to show up?
Please. So if you have an appointment and you've gotten your vaccination somewhere else while waiting, please let us know so that opens up a spot and we can bring in somebody else to get their vaccine.
Okay, that's really good information. Let's talk about the vaccine itself. So they were issued, it was the Pfizer?
No, this was the Moderna vaccine.
It was Moderna. Okay, so they got the Moderna vaccine, and the preparation in being able to actually administer it is a process.
Yeah.
Can you run through why it's so important to follow that process exactly?
Yes, so the Moderna vaccine still requires freezer temperatures to keep it stable for long term. Once it's thawed, it could be good for a month if it's in a refrigerator, but once it's brought out and brought to room temperature, you only have a short period of time to use it. It pretty much has to be used that day, especially once it's drawn into the syringes. You have 6 hours from that time for it to be used.
Oh, wow.
So we're calculating very carefully how many people are scheduled, how much vaccine do we need. We thaw that vaccine, bring it in, and because we have people getting their vaccination every few minutes, it's very rapid because we have so many stations vaccinating.
Right.
We have people coming in a few hours ahead of time, drawing that vaccine up into the syringes in preparation so they can be distributed to those stations. And so it's all a big dance. We, at the end of the day, don't want to have any vaccine left over. But again, if we have people scheduled, we don't want to run short. So once that vaccine is brought in, all those people that are scheduled will get their vaccinations. And if there's any vaccine at the end of the day that it looks like, once we know how many people are scheduled, how many didn't show up, and how much vaccine we might have left over, we can contact specific people that are over 75 that would qualify to be in the next group and bring them in that evening to use that vaccine for them.
Oh, that's great. And I know we had Eileen on yesterday, and she talked a little bit about some of the issues. And I want to touch on one in particular, which actually disrupted this process that you're talking about. Some folks were exchanging the little numbers, I guess, that they were giving, and which kind of threw some numbers off. What happened there?
Yeah, so as I was saying, because we had some people that didn't show, we thought we were going to have some additional vaccine, and because the vaccine is only good for so long during the day, and we don't want to risk wasting a single dose of vaccine, they'll bring that vaccine out at different times of the day.
Okay.
And so they were estimating how many people have come in, how many people missed their scheduled appointment, how much more we need for the rest of the day. And some people had come in and said that they were of age, and then gave that registration to somebody else. We brought vaccine in to vaccinate the people that were supposed to be scheduled for the vaccine, and then all of a sudden we had this issue with people who had numbers they actually weren't supposed to get vaccinated that day, and that left a bit of a mismatch.
Absolutely. So everybody, please follow the rules for sure. So what's happened next? Like, hopefully maybe next weekend, but we're not really sure. So what's the process now?
So the process now is we're still working with the Orange County Health Agency to get our next batch of vaccine. The federal government is releasing the batches of vaccines each week, so the state doesn't know how much vaccine it's going to get until just less than a week earlier.
Okay.
They register for the vaccine that they're going to get. Then they notify the local health agencies about the amount of vaccine they could request.
Right.
They make the request, then they find out what it's going to be, then they need to go through all of the organizations that are going to be providing vaccine and say, this is how much vaccine we could potentially give to you. Is that okay? And sometimes, because we don't know ahead of time, it may be the Pfizer vaccine, which has different requirements than it might be the Moderna vaccine, or it might be some mixture of the two. All of that has to get planned within just a few days,
Right.
because then you get the vaccine just a couple of days after that, after all of that gets worked out.
Well, exactly, and you'll have to know, by Wednesday or Thursday if you're going to be having a vaccination program that weekend. So yeah, a lot of logistics that go into all this, and a lot of people play a very important part. Any last things you'd like to let us know?
The biggest thing is for people, we understand that everyone is very excited about getting vaccinated, and we are very excited and thrilled that we're able to help Laguna Woods Village provide this vaccine to all of our seniors over time. But it's really important that we stick to the steps of getting people their vaccine. If we have someone that is below 75, talks their way into coming in and getting vaccinated, that leaves somebody that is at higher risk vulnerable to getting this virus. Everyone will get their vaccine with time. Please don't come if you don't have an appointment. Please don't try to convince people that you are older than you are, or give your vaccine appointment to somebody else. It's really important we all work together, think of the community overall, and just wait until you're contacted. You will get contacted, you'll get your appointment, you'll come in, and everything will go so much more smoothly. But we really appreciate everyone's patience and time with getting this vaccine out to everybody.
Excellent information. Well, thank you so much. I forgot, you had a special visitor.
We had a special visitor.
That's right.
You can see.
Let's show the picture. Look at you have all these folks behind you, and look who's in. Who is that?
Just to my left.
How did Bernie get in there?
Senator Bernie Sanders. It was a chilly day that day here in Laguna Woods.
He is just everywhere these days. It's just too funny. Well, thank you again, and we'll talk to you again.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. And again, we just appreciate this collaboration.
It's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And stay tuned. We'll have more information for you regarding Laguna Woods. We'll be right back.